Hey guys, my name is Kenia Sanchez. I'm a real estate agent with Jet Set Realtors. I'm here for all of your real estate need, whether it be pre-owned, renting, or you're looking to buy land and build. I'm your girl.
Hey, and I'm also here partnering up with Kenya Sanchez and Danny, and Dan the Man, as we call him in the office. Uh, and we just wanted to really introduce ourselves. I'm a loan officer. I work with USA Mortgage, so me and her partnered up together. And then we also have our partner contractor, Danny.
Hey guys, Danny Sanchez with Exodus Construction. I just want to let you guys know that we're here as a construction company. We're here to support the real estate side as well. When you have an agent and a lender working with a client looking to do additional renovations to a home that they're looking to purchase, or maybe even an existing home where they live, we can come in and do renovations as well. So we bring all the expertise to that side. We also do some custom ground up builds in certain areas of the DFW market. So, but yeah, we're here to help, and I'm excited about what we're going to be talking today.
Okay, so a couple of things that we're going to be touching base on today is obviously we're all partnered up together. A little bit of background on myself. I've been in the finance industry for almost 10 years now, and kind of have a well-rounded background on whether it's financing, banking, or mortgage. So if you have any questions, whether they're mortgage related, if they're finance related, period, I'm more than happy to answer those. We just got our first home not too long ago, and I kind of feel that the process for me on the other side of it, seeing it from the buyer side, has really been a good experience, because now I know what questions I had whenever I was buying, and that I didn't realize people had whenever they were buying, when we were financing the mortgage. So just to kind of give you a background on myself, I've gone through the process. I have the experience in time that I've done, in finance, and we're here to serve for you any needs that you guys might have. So I think Kenya was going to actually talk a little bit about herself and what background she has. I've come to find out that any clients that I've sent to her have been extremely happy with her service. So without further ado.
Yes, thank you, Ivan. I'm excited to partner up with Ivan and with Core Mortgage and Danny, which is my husband, who I've worked with also in the construction side. I dealt a lot with in the accounting part of the construction for over 10 years, and am very familiar with the construction process, and also going through the construction loan and all the what it takes, what phases and whatnot. I've also dealt with that in my personal life. I have 3 beautiful kids, as well as my 3 dogs that I have at home that I love so much dearly.
Not Danny. That's not one of them.
I always get left out.
No, it's not about the dogs.
No, I
know. Poor dogs.
Oh, it's just...
I wasn't included in the dogs, eh?
Going on the business side, a lot of people have questions of foundations and plumbing and HVAC and whatnot. So we tag team up too in that area, in that aspect. So
yeah, and that's kind of where I step in, or the company that I own, and along with 2 of my brothers, family owned and operated business, Exodus Construction. We're located in Mesquite. We've been essentially, we grew up in the business, so we understand it. My strengths come more from the multifamily side, a lot of renovating, dealing with investors, but it all ties in. It's the same thing. It's like working with 200 houses in one location, essentially, when it comes to multifamily. So, doing renovations, building, from the ground up. We've dealt with insurance claims in the past as well, from houses that have caught on fire, been destroyed by tornadoes, hail damage, you name it. We can handle all those needs. But in particular, tying into what we're talking about today, Exodus is a contractor that has all the right requirements that most lenders would require. For instance, where Ivan works at, they have a certain list of requirements that we need to bring to the table, and we have all those details. So whenever you guys are dealing with purchasing, where you're taking those initial steps to buying a house, I think one of the most key components is making sure that your contractor meets the requirements that the lender that you're going to be using requires.
I'm going to be hosting a lunch and learn in Waxahachie. I know it's a little ways for everybody, so I kind of wanted to give an introduction of somewhat of an idea of what we'd be talking about there. But just kind of got together some questions for us, and essentially that's what we would be talking about. It's going to be renovations, constructions, and how to tackle that market, because some people don't know how to go about it. When I was actually getting some questions together that we had inquiries about, common questions we get from some of our clients as a team. So the first question I'm going to ask him is, can I build a house, or what do I have to do to build a house?
Yeah. And I get that question asked quite a bit, and sometimes, Kenia will call me and say, hey, I've got a client that wants to build a house. And my initial response is, have they gotten approved on any funding to build this home? So, it's not, sometimes what most people try to do is put the build on me as a contractor and say, hey, build me the house and then I'll go get a loan. No, that's not the way it works. There's a process, and everybody's got to take the due process. And, that's why initially I'm like, hey, make sure that they contact Ivan, get a loan structured out in place, and see if they can get approved for building a home. But that kind of ties into that same question is, when somebody's trying to buy a house for the very first time and they ask me, hey, should I build or should I buy a pre-existing home? And you get that question asked quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. I get that question asked a lot. What do you recommend if I should buy a home, custom home, or should I buy a home already built? And my advice is to always, if you're a first-time home buyers, to get a house already built, because you really don't know what you're getting yourself into. You need to get familiar with property taxes, get familiar with HOA, get familiar with your
upkeep,
maintenance, insurance, mortgage insurance, all of that you weren't doing when you were renting. So it's always best to start in the pre-owned and a house already built, and get your feet wet, get familiar with all of that before you start buying land and then start building a home, because it's complex. It's more than just what you see on TV and what your friends tell you.
It's not HDTV.
Another question, again, this is a very vague question, so it really could go to anybody if you really ask, but it's how do I get started, or what's the first steps in buying a home?
How do you get started? Man, you have to contact Ivan with Core Mortgage. He will get you started. He will look at your debt to income, get it all worked out, look at your credit score, see what you have available, and just knock it out and see what you're qualified for.
There's a lot that goes into that, right?
Yeah. So like they said, so the getting started part does, obviously a lot of people contact the realtor first to find out, what do I need to do? Where do I start? What steps do I need to take to get prepared to buy? Some people, and I always encourage everybody and make sure that they know, at the time that we're looking at the application, sometimes you're not ready to buy, and that's totally okay. So if you ever apply and we're, struggling to find you a deal and it's hard to get you approved, or we can't do the deal, period. Don't be discouraged, because something was on me. some of the things that we do is we'll make sure that, okay, so if they can't buy now, they can't buy today, maybe today you can't buy, but 6 months down the line, we find somebody that can help you with your credit, or, where we kind of walk you through the process of getting you in the buying zone is what I call it. So once you're in that buying zone, then we're going to, reevaluate your credit history, your credit, and see where you're at now, and see if that's the time for you to buy.
Yep.
Also, can I say something real quick in regards to that? It kind of taking a step further back is, when you're a first-time home buyer, I think fear kicks in because you don't know what to do, and sometimes you think that maybe your financials or your current situation won't allow you to buy a home. But I think as a first-timer, you should always, I encourage you, because I had the same fears when I first started. I encourage you, just make a phone call Ivan and say, hey man, what's the first steps to seeing if there's any way that I could get a home? And there's nothing wrong with that. He can check out your situation, and then the good thing is that you guys can help create something, like a path to financial success, so that they can attain, lending, and then go in that direction. But I remember when we first got started, that was my biggest fear, is like, I'm getting 1099. I'm not making, I don't even know if I'm making enough money to get a loan. And finally, a good friend of mine just encouraged me and says, you're not ever going to know what you can accomplish until you actually reach out and do something.
Exactly.
There's so many programs out there that Ivan can see where you go into and what you qualify. And if, you can't right now, there's, you can always, like he said, do it in 6 months and see what programs out there. Because it's always changing, right? It's
True.
always there's always programs coming up. So we just, he's the one to get to first.
Yeah. Well, the first step obviously is get a pre-qualification. So, obviously you'd contact the lender. Me, you're always going to call me, I know. So, no, but
You gotta
call a lender. You get your pre-qualification, and then guess what? We send that to the realtor, Kenia, and then that's her process where she's going to be like, okay, now I have proof that you're able to get funds for it, right? In the meantime, while she's showing you homes, then I'm going to ask you for some documentation to verify the information you gave me. So we want to make sure that the information you gave me is accurate and that we're not just giving fake numbers to the mortgage companies, right? So once we have documentation to back that up in the process while she's, finding you a home, we can get that, turn that pre-qualification letter into a pre-approval. So at that point, we already know you're approved for the loan. We've got your documentation that's back. Now we just got to make sure that the home is approved for our lending. That's actually one of the questions that I'll kind of touch on now since we're talking about it. Some people ask me about the, kind of like the funding for renovations and how that works. So this is kind of where all three of us would kind of come into play. The first part, pre-qualification, still same process. We can still do FHA loans with those. That's what a lot of people don't understand. We can still do an FHA loan with 3.5% down, which is awesome because you can renovate a house, and then we'll give you the funds to buy the home, and then we'll turn around and give the contractor here's some money to start the work, or hey, once you get done with the first phase, here's some money to keep you guys going in the process.
We'll go through a draw process.
Yeah,
right,
it'll be a draw process. Exactly.
Just depends on the scale of work that needs to be done. If you're just going into, maybe let's just say you're going to replace the roof, and you got to spend $7,000. In most cases, your contractor would probably ask you for 20% down, right? Just to kind of get the ball rolling. And then once he gets it done, which normally takes about 2 days max, then the rest of the funding would come in from the lender. Now, granted, the scope can grow. You can find a house and you want to make a huge investment, and you're like, we're going to buy it at a good deal. Kenya found me a fantastic offer, and this is going to be our flip. Talk with the lender, with Ivan, and see if the money's going to be able to work. But then at that point, we're talking, $60,000, $70,000 worth of renovation. But because Kenya did all the comp, at that point, the draw schedule on a big renovation is a little bit more detailed just because of the magnitude of the work. But we can do all that.
Now, again, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing a kind of, lunch and learn, like a little class on I think it's on a Thursday, on the 23rd of this month. Yes. So what we're going to be doing is talking a little bit more into detail on the renovation, the construction, and how to kind of get into that market. So some people are a little afraid. So again, we're going to talk about that. But if you want more details and more, a more streamlined process and try to understand that process a little bit better, then, it'd be good if you could join us for sure. Just come check it out. We'll have some free pizza. So if you come check it out and you don't want
we'll have a booth there, right? We'll have booths there.
We'll have some tables set up so you guys can come by, and if there's any questions you guys have, it'll be a lunch and learn followed by a Q&A. So a short Q&A, and then if we don't get to your question for whatever reason, the last hour's networking, and you guys can come by our tables and just ask questions. So I think one last point I wanted to touch on, because this is one of the big things that a lot of people don't know, and just the down payment part. So a lot of people are under the impression that you have to have 20% down or a large down payment to be able to buy a house. That's actually not true anymore. So maybe a few years back when the market went down, that was one of the requirements.
That's when we purchased our first home.
Yeah, you gotta have 20% down. So one of the big things that I like to just make sure that I touch on every time is, you don't have to have 20% down. There are payment assistant programs out there that would help you assist in your down payment. And then on top of that, there's, low down payment programs, even for conventional loans as low as 3% now. So there's a lot more loans available to everybody. And obviously we're here to facilitate. And if there's any questions that come up, feel free to reach out to us anytime. Thanks for joining us today.
You guys have a good one. Thank you.